I'm going out, I gotta go. I'll bang a rang on the radio. So turn it up, I'm telling you. I think I'm ready for something new. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.
Hello, I'm Sophie, and I'm interviewing Paige Hamilton of Helmet on behalf of Pop Punkin' Pizza. So,
what's it called?
Pop Punkin' Pizza.
Okay, Pop Punkin' Pizza. I like it.
So, really good set tonight. I had two questions watching. One of them is, I noticed when you're playing guitar, you remove some of the dials.
Yes.
And so can you explain why you do that when you play?
Yeah. When I'm singing and I have like pedal switches, right, to change sounds. So I have guitars that have multiple, knobs and switches or whatever, and I just get, to be honest, I kind of like, freak out a little bit, and I hit the wrong thing and whatever. So I said, one volume knob, it's either all the way up or I back it off when I turn it. I have a thing called a noise gate. So, because if I'm using a lot of distortion, high gain, so you'll get a lot of noise. And if I want to do a thing like the beginning of the song Street Crab, which is on the Betty album, I start, and it's more of a quiet kind of sound. So I back the volume knob down, and that it kind of simplifies things, since I have to sing and create different sounds when I'm doing like the sound sculpting part of the show. Like I do solos and noise and stuff like that. You probably saw in the song Tick. Yeah. So yeah.
And then my next question is, it was at the end of Tick. I noticed like you have the back panel of your guitar off and you were hitting that. So can anybody do that without getting electrocuted? Like, how does that work?
You don't get electrocuted. There's a great German guitarist named Kasper Brotzmann.
Okay.
He and I did an album together called Zulu Time. Okay. So if you like noise music, it's an improvised duo. So it's just the two of us in the studio where we made Strap It On in Meantime. And he turned me on to that idea of using the springs on the whammy bar. You know what a whammy bar is? Yeah. So I have a whammy bar, so he pulls the back plate off, and I can create these interesting harmonic noises with my pick on the springs.
Is that while you use like the whammy bar, or is that just like?
No, it's kind of.
You can just do it without messing with that.
Yeah, the whammy bar will still be like, I'll use the whammy bar, and in this particular instance, it's more about. So I'm trying to create these harmonics on the springs, and then I'll change my sound on the floor. So like I have a thing called a pitch shifter. So, and I can have it set to a certain interval, and I can kind of change notes. And I do a lot of that stuff on movie. I do sessions for movies for a million years. The movie Heat from De Niro and Pacino, and In Dreams and Titus, Across the Universe, Final Fantasy, SWAT. So I've been making noise like this for a long time, and it's really, really, really fun.
That was really cool to see.
Cool, awesome, great.
So my next question is the cover of Betty. It's like a really iconic picture. Where did you guys find that photo for the album?
I was lying in bed, and while I was writing the Betty album, I was obsessed with Aladdin Sane by David Bowie, who I had the honor of playing lead guitar for in the 1999 Hours tour. And I had Aladdin Sane by my bed every night. I would look at the lyrics, and all of a sudden I got this image of an English garden and a woman, and I was like, it was so not metal. And we had just had this big hit album with the Meantime album and the Steel Worker and this, and I was meeting all these metal guys, and I'm like, well, we're not really metal. And so I kind of wanted to throw a curveball, and this image I had stuck in my brain. I had actually, have you ever seen those mansions where they have the pond, the cement pond, like a long water thing? So that was kind of my idea, and then we were the company that we worked with, Reiner Design, who did the Meantime cover. They had these books, and I was going through these books after book after book, and I saw this woman. I love the Led Zeppelin album Presence. It's one of my favorite album covers ever, and so it was like I'm going to say 60s kind of vibe. And I was born in 1960, so I love that whole, the fashion of that era and the kind of vibe. And I saw this woman, I'm like, that's her, that's Betty, that is the album cover.
So it was like the cover, it was in like a book that you were going through, or?
I discovered, so I had the image in my mind, and I described it to them, and they said, we have an idea. We have this book. It's a photographer in Florida.
Okay.
That was his wife.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you look, if you open the album, there's pictures of her water skiing.
Oh, that's the same. I didn't know
Same
that's
woman.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, same woman. So I just thought that is so perfect. It's like this Americana thing. If you notice, the back cover is like a suburban house in California, and there's something so subversive about like American culture, like this complacent, how do I describe it? This kind of complacent obliviousness. A lot of my songs are about that kind of idea that in America, because if you go to Europe, you travel an hour and you're in a different culture. You're hearing a different language. In America, with this massive country with 50 million people, and we're so isolated and so closed off. And so I just thought it was, actually a friend of mine was studying in an Australian university and said my art teacher used the Betty album cover as an example of subversive art. I was like, yes!
Yeah, I mean, the first time I saw that, I'm like, I have to, like, I know I'll love this, just like with the cover and everything. Like, it's really effective.
Nice.
My next question a lot of songs on Betty, like, they have the abstract lyrics. So the one I really wanted to ask about, I read in Rolling Stone that Sam Hell is about like some regulars at a bar that you worked at.
Yeah.
Could you like kind of like maybe like describe it a little, and then like where did you get the title from? Like, it's just a really good title.
Very cool. So Sam Hell was the man's name was Howard Franklin. May he rest in peace. He was he wasn't homeless, but he was not affluent. He would come into my bar, and I would get 2 shift meals every night. I'd start at like 4 in the afternoon, and I'd go to 4 in the morning. So since I had 2 shift meals, I'd always give him one of my meals. And he was this eloquent, beautiful man who was an alcoholic. He just happened to have some bad luck. And I started thinking about him. And there was also, when I moved to New York City to go to grad school, I lived in it's called an SRO, single room occupancy hotel. It's a welfare hotel. And I got a job working from midnight to 8 a.m. so I could go to school during the day. There was a woman named Eleanor Hype, Hiepe, who was, lived in the welfare hotel, and she was affected. She didn't, she wasn't well mentally. And so I started thinking about her. There was the rumor in the hotel that she had a cat, but that she was so poor that she had to eat the cat. And I saw her, she would go around to different floors with a bowl and steal food when people were cooking and stuff. So she's the thin, stocking cap and that whole idea. So I kind of combined these 2 characters from New York City that I got to know in my time there. And Howard was beautiful. Eleanor was, she would always come downstairs at like 3 or 4 in the morning, like, is my check here yet? And I'm like, and then she'd come down like, where's my cat? And I was like, well, I think she's long gone, So it was. So I just thought it'd be a real. And as far as Sam Hell, I don't remember like why that stuck with me. But interestingly, there's a great artist in Cleveland, Ohio, named Derek Hess. He booked us at the Euclid Tavern the very first time we played Cleveland. That's a whole other story. If you see the 30th anniversary of the Betty album, we did a release. He did the artwork for that, of the anniversary copy, and we Derek did an art piece called Sam Hell. I went to his opening in New York City, and I'm like, dude, did you get this idea from my song? And he's like, I thought you got the idea from my art piece. So we were it was 2, minds. Just so like we were just in sync, and he is an incredible artist. He's done stuff for everyone from Tool to Primus and whatever. Just a great artist. So he, you should check out the artwork. It's beautiful.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. Also, during your set, you improvise a lot. Do you have any artists that kind of influence the way that you improv, on guitar, or?
Yeah. There are way too many to name, but as far as in my helmet improvisation, John Coltrane is my all-time musical hero. He's a great jazz saxophonist who was born in North Carolina, ended up in New York City, and created he did an album called The Love Supreme. On our last album, Left, the last track on the album is called Resolution. It's a John Coltrane cover. I use that loosely. So I played the melody. I improvised first over the modal chord changes, and then I played the melody, trying to imitate a saxophone. So John Coltrane would be a huge influence on me. I would never claim to be anywhere near his level of genius at all. But it inspires me to this day. I love a guitar player named Wes Montgomery, who's from Indianapolis. I transcribed a lot of his music, meaning I listened to the music and wrote down the notes that he played, so he would be a huge influence on me. As far as rock improvisation, I love Angus Young and Jimmy Page. Those are probably my two favorite rock guitar players.
Thank you. Next question. Are there any artists that you're really into right now?
Oh man, so many. Boy. Woo. So I'm assuming we're thinking about contemporary artists. I'm really, I'll warn you, I'm really bad at this, because I'll listen to something and completely forget about it when the pressure's on to kind of come up with something. But yeah, there's so many great bands right now. I think there's a lot of great music going on. And this is not a new artist, but Jack White came to see us play tonight, and his label put out our Betty, the album I'm talking about, that beautiful Derek Hess artwork. I think he's a brilliant songwriter and guitarist. I love his voice. It's not a new artist. God, I loved when I saw Radiohead at CBGB's the first time they ever played New York City. And it was not amazing, but the next album they put out, OK Computer, I thought was amazing. And then Kid A, I like those. So I love them. I love a lot of drum and bass music, like bands like Autechre or Aphex Twin. Older stuff like Orbital, I love, like drum and bass music. I'm trying to think of other bands off the top of my head. I'm so bad, so I apologize. Yeah.
Okay. And then this is one of my friend's questions he wanted me to ask you. So he wanted to ask, jazz and punk both share countercultural roots. Do you see the two genres as having a similar expression of self and defiance of expectations?
100%.
Okay.
That's actually a brilliant question. I've always felt like Charlie Parker was punk rock in 1940. I just got asked in another interview earlier tonight, what is punk rock? Punk rock is not like Hot Topic. It's not like I got the right threads to look punk rock. That's not punk rock. And I will not speak disparagingly of any band that calls themselves punk rock. That's a style. But to me, punk rock is you do what you believe in. You be honest about what you're doing, and you stick to your guns regardless of what's going on around you. In New York City, when we came out, the big bands were Sonic Youth, Live Skull, Rat Rat R. Those are the three biggest bands in the East Village, in New York City. And I love all those bands, but I wanted to do something, that was different. Like I love funky music, so I listened to them either on Sirius Radio. I either listen to Symphony Space or the Motown station.
Okay.
And so I love music that grooves, and I also love music that is heavy, and I love loud guitars. So to me, there was a punk thing about us, because I came out, I had this magenta, you probably saw the guitar tonight, this magenta reverse headstock with a whammy bar. That was so not cool in 1989 or 90. Everybody was like, I remember playing in Long Beach, and one of my Kurt from Flipside magazine was like, "What is that guitar?" And I go, "That's my new guitar, bro." And to me, that's more punk, like to stick to your guns and do something that's goes against the grain a little bit. You know what I mean? You're not worried about what people think about you. I'm like, I know this guitar sounds great, and I know that we're doing good music, even though it's not what everybody else is doing. That is punk.
Yeah. Thanks. Also, the guitar looks cool, so.
Thank you. It's gorgeous, right?
And then these are kind of more silly questions, but the next one I don't have it written down, but in 2003, one of your tracks off of Size Matters, Smashing Foreign Cars, was included on the soundtrack to the 2003 video game Need for Speed Underground 2. So how did you guys end up on that soundtrack, and did you write Crashing Foreign Cars with like a racing game in mind, or did you have it already?
That's a great story. So Crashing Foreign Cars was the title I borrowed from a David Bowie song, who as I said, I got to play lead guitar with. He's one of my all-time musical heroes, and I love him like a genius uncle. I cried my eyes out when he died, but he has a song called Always Crashing in the Same Car on Low, and I love that title. And so I was writing lyrics, scrambling to finish lyrics while my band was kind of sitting around, and I said to Chris Traynor, who's now in Bush, John Tempesta, who's now in The Cult, and Blasco, Rob, who played with Ozzy, and he was in White Zombie, and I forget who he plays with now, but really great musicians. I said, come up with a fast riff. I need something up-tempo, something, and so they came in. Chris had that amazing riff, and he had the 3 chords for the chorus. Yeah. So I blew those chords out. I ended up doing kind of my, don't sound like a pompous ass, but I kind of Page Hamiltonized them. I said, okay, we can extend these harmonies by opening the chords up with open strings and changing. It doesn't have to be just 3 chords. We can expand upon those. Yeah. So that's kind of how that song came about. And I had those lyrics were actually, I wrote the lyrics when I left my ex-wife in 1999, about the time I got the Bowie gig. I was close with the Nine Inch Nails boys, and Trent had a studio in New Orleans.
Okay.
So they invited me they said, come down and hang out here, get out of New York. I really needed to get out of New York. And he had an apartment. He said, I want to stay here as long as you want. So I was messing around with synthesizers, like playing these chords and doing this weird thing. They turned me onto the computer. They taught me how to use Logic Audio and record and do all this stuff that I was like, and I had this keyboard song. It was a ballad. And I wrote this song, Crashing Foreign Cars. And I loved those lyrics, so I ended up taking those lyrics from my ballad keyboard weird synth song, putting them into this like kind of, fast, hardcore, cool song.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then my next question is, in 1994, your song, well, it was spelled different, but Milk Toast, yeah, it ended up on the Crow soundtrack. So my sister's question, that's her question, okay. Is were you happy with the way it was used in the movie, and what did you think of the movie itself?
Adore the movie. We were supposed to be in the movie, or they asked us to be in the movie. Okay. We were too busy, believe it or not. Like, we were touring nonstop back then. Thrill Kill Colt ended up in the scene, and that was this very scene that Brandon was accidentally killed in, and I just thank God that I wasn't there for that, because it would have broken my heart more. It broke my heart as it was. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. I read the script. I always, if I'm going to do something for a movie, I always ask them to send me the script. I don't want rape or cop killing. There are a few other things, obviously. And I said, this is great. It's going to be a really cool movie. I knew it was going to be a cool movie. The different titles, the spelling, were to kind of distinguish it from this Crow soundtrack and the Betty album. So there were Butch Vig, the great, who's phenomenal. He produced Nevermind, obviously one of the best albums ever, and he also produced like the Nirvana boys loved him because of his Killdozer. He produced Killdozer in Madison, Wisconsin. Great band, Killdozer. So I'd always wanted to work with Butch, and we went to the Power Station. We did the Milquetoast song, and we did a song called Custard Pie for the Led Zeppelin and Comium tribute album. And at the time, they came to us first, and they said, well, we want to have two artists work together. And so we were like, our pal David Yao from the Jesus Lizard, like, do you want to do this song with us? And then, like, a lot of the bands ended up just doing their own thing, but because we were so early on, that was the original idea. They kind of abandoned that, but we'd already recorded with David. So I told my band to learn the song, Custard Pie, and they did, and we went in at the Power Station. Butch hit record. We never rehearsed the song, not one day. I started the song, we played it beginning to end. I'm like, done.
Nice.
We are good, you know, and it was great. It turned out to be a really, really cool thing. So Butch did the mix for the Crow. Yeah, Butch is brilliant. He's in a band called Garbage with Shirley Manson, who's another amazing like artist who I love. Yeah.
All right. I think that was my last serious question. I did have one stupid question.
If you were going to be a home appliance, what would you be?
No, not that stupid, but I have a prop for this. So my other friend wanted to know what are these on the cover?
Those are torture helmets from the Spanish Spanish Inquisition.
Okay.
So we had a book of Spanish Inquisition torture instruments, and it was so vile and awful that they would put this on someone, and clamp it down if they had broken the law. And it was the Spanish Inquisition, as you know, was about religious. You don't believe in God, you're a heretic. A woman committed adultery, she would be hung up in a cage, in the street. It was just awful. And it's oddly gorgeous photography, right? So that's yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's been the interview. Thanks so much for doing this. It was a pleasure to see you perform and get to talk to you. So
Nice to meet you, Sophie.
thanks again, and that's a wrap.
Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.